lightning inside me, son of a god. I'm like a titan that's rising, oh, just you watch. I'm stepping into fate, there is no time to waste. I've got that lightning inside me, this is how legends are made.
Jake, welcome to 2023, my friend.
Hell yeah, we're back, finally. I've
I
been
know.
waiting for a pay-per-view.
I know, it's been a while, and last week we put out picks, but we just didn't, I guess we were just both got busy. I can't really remember, but we didn't do a pod, is what it is. But we knew we had to do one for the first pay-per-view of 2023.
And just to kind of brag about last week, too. I mean, we're up over 6 units in 1 week just to start the year off. Like, we could not have gone to a better start. Like, I'm just pissed my unit size was so small to start the year. Like, why didn't I start out hot? Like, I should have done 100 units or $100 per unit. I'd be up $600 right now.
It'd be a great night. Yeah, I couldn't have imagined that night was going to go the way that it did. I texted you like right before the fights all started, and I just said, I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was something to the effect of like, let's go have ourselves a year or something along those lines. And I sent it just kind of as a joke, and then you look back at the end of the night and we were up like 6.2 units.
I don't think we lost until the main event, or not the main event, the main card. Like I've noticed we are like, even on weeks we do poorly, when we have, I guess, like just a lot of money out on the main card, we tend to always do really well on the prelims. Like really well on the prelims. Like we've had several perfect prelims. Like I think anytime we parlay just the prelims as well, we usually end up winning.
Which is odd because like I feel like the common wisdom would kind of say that like we know more about the main card fighters, so those would be the ones we'd do better on. But you're right.
Maybe that's why we do better.
Overanalyze everything.
Dart throw, not like we're dart throwing, but you know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But yeah, we couldn't have started 2023 off better. Can't wait to keep the ball rolling this week. UFC 283 from Brazil. You brought up a really good point actually a little while ago when we were talking about our picks that I didn't think of, but this is the first card back in Brazil since before. It was like literally the last fight before COVID. I think it was like Gaethje and someone maybe.
If I remember it right. No, so Gaethje was the first one after. I don't think he was the one going into it.
So it was Oliveira then.
Yeah, someone like that. But if I remember it right, they had a crowd. Like they had a full sold out stadium ready to go, and they still did the fights, but they had to make it completely empty arena. Like that was the first fight, empty arena, and then after that was it for a little bit of time. But I don't remember who exactly it was. I just remember Brennan Fitzgerald being stuck in Rio.
Yeah. I think it was Oliveira. I don't know who he was fighting, but it was definitely Oliveira as the main event.
That'd have been Oliveira Tony.
Ooh, that's a good point. Maybe. I can't remember. It was definitely Oliveira, but yeah, so cool to be back down in Brazil. I think this card is actually pretty stacked up. I looked at it for the first time literally ever. I had not looked at the card before like Monday. Looked at it for the first time and was not super excited about it for whatever reason. But now that we've put our picks together, it's one of those cards that I'm like, all right, this is like building steam a little bit. Watched a couple of the embeddeds. I'm actually pretty happy with what we're going to see on Saturday.
It's not a world fan friendly card. Like this card is definitely built for Brazil. Like there is not a single fight on this entire card that does not have a Brazilian in the fight. Some of them have two Brazilians fighting each other, but it's like this is basically Brazil versus the world. Like that's what they're going for. They're appealing to the masses in Brazil basically at this one. And I mean, because you're seeing Glover, you're seeing the retirement of Shogun. You got Gilbert Burns going home, Jessica Andrade coming home. Like it's all just the Brazilians. You've got Figueiredo fighting you got two Brazilian title fights basically. Yeah, like you said, it's not crazy exciting. It's not all the biggest stars, but it's definitely the biggest Brazilian stars in the world. Like there's no
Yeah.
doubt about that. You're only missing Costa.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too. So I kind of looked ahead because we'll have some exciting news in the future about who may or may not be going to see John Jones's return. So hang on for that. But I started looking ahead at some of the cards to come, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of them, maybe at the Apex, or it was in Las Vegas. That's all I remember. And it was this card, but sub all the Brazilians for Asians. Like it was everyone from Korea, from Japan, from China. Like the exact same thing. Like every fight on this card is someone from Brazil. Every fight on that card was someone from an Asian country. So it's almost like the UFC is trying to like hit the different parts of the world like in this year. If that's any kind of pattern, I know 2 cards isn't really a pattern, but it's worth paying attention to. I think it's interesting. It might be just like a new marketing strategy for them or something.
I was gonna say this is the first time they're going back to London. However, like yes, you're getting Leon Edwards defending his belt in front of everybody, but like there's no Arnold Allen, there's no Paddy, there's no Molly, there's no Tom Aspinall. So they're kind of going back to the O2 now and just being like, let's give him a normal card. I mean, not normal card. However, you've got Usman versus what's his fucking name, Edwards, and then right before that is Gaethje Fiziev. So I mean, it's not like you're just getting nothing. Like you're getting Gaethje Fiziev, possible fight of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I just sent you another fight off that card earlier today in Casey O'Neill and Jennifer Maia.
Oh yeah,
and Casey O'Neill's
Return of King Casey.
Casey O'Neill's kind of a Scossie a little bit, like she's from Scotland but grew up in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, she's Aussie. I see her as an Aussie.
Yes, but if you listen to her talk, like I've watched an interview with her before, and she literally calls her accent a Scossie accent.
Really,
it's kind of funny. But like, she definitely sounds like Paul Craig, but if Paul Craig moved to Melbourne for like 9 years, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, as everyone knows, I think by now I'm a huge Casey O'Neill fan, even if she is the bad guy. So shout out.
Hey, everyone likes the bad guy Casey. It seems like now, like who cares? There's Roxy.
I'm all about it.
Like, get her out of there.
Yeah, I was gonna say we saw the birth of that. We were at that fight. So
I was walking the stadium to get a beer during that interview.
Yeah,
but I remember exactly watching it on one of the TVs while I was in line.
Well, because we both had bets on Casey O'Neill, and then all of a sudden, like you went to get a beer, and then I stayed because I wanted to see who won the fight. And I remember them announcing that Roxy won the fight, that Casey won the fight, and I was just so shocked because everyone in the stadium was certain that Roxy won.
Yeah.
But yeah, as fun as it is to talk about the upcoming format of the UFC, because there's a lot of really good cards coming out, let's talk about this week, because like I said, was not super like hype on this card before we put together bets. And after we got done putting together bets, I am all of a sudden ready to go. We have a ton of units out this week, which is really cool and really scary at the same time, but I'm really confident.
All everybody that's listening needs to know is I'm riding every single bet that we take this year. I started out hot last week, so I've got money to play with again this week. And just knowing the fact that I'm going to take every single bet, however many units we throw out all year long, means we're putting in the research. Like, we're putting in the work for these bets this year because I don't make a lot of money. I need the money. Like, these bets are huge.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. I'm super excited. We're coming off the heels of a big week, so.
Yeah, we need this. Need it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive in. We're going to start at the top of the card, work our way down, and we've got a nice little parlay that we cooked up. So let's get it off and running here. So top of the card, we've got Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira coming back to try to win the belt that he lost to Yuri Prochazka. This line the first one might be one of the weirder lines I feel like I've seen in a while, because it's a 5-round fight, but the odds makers have the over-under set at a round and a half. So like they might know something we don't. I can't imagine that's the case. But mathematically, you just have to feel confident in the over of a 5-round fight when guys are fighting at 5-round pace. I feel like I was the one that was really firm on that. You were wanting to take the under as always, which respect.
Love
But
unders.
but it doesn't everyone. But I just like mathematically, I don't know like how you can't be confident in
I
the over 1.5 on a 5-round fight. It doesn't make sense
Yeah, I
to how
agree.
that doesn't hit.
You had to talk me down on this one because I was saying like, oh, this fight goes to the ground. Glover gets the finish easy, but we didn't see Glover get the finish easy against Yuri in the last fight. And then Glover had a chin. Yuri's a striker. Glover didn't go out. So like, if we're looking at like, oh, you can't do MMA math usually, but yeah, if we're looking at his last fight, just playing these first two bets on here, Glover should have destroyed, or should be still the champ, because he was beating Yuri down the whole fight and lost in the last 30 seconds. And then, yeah, the fight went to 5 rounds. Almost went the whole distance with two killers. One a killer on the mat, one a killer on the feet. That's exactly what this fight is again. So, yeah, got to take the over. Got to take Glover money line. Glover's the champ. He lost with 30 seconds to go. Glover's the champ.
Yeah, well, and kind of the way I agree, you can't do MMA math, but I really like doing MMA math.
Love it.
But like the way I think of this one is, personally, I'm of the belief that Yuri Prochazka is the best light heavyweight on the planet. No one will be able to convince me otherwise until another light heavyweight comes up and proves me wrong. But until that time, Yuri Prochazka, best light heavyweight on the planet, and Glover was winning that fight against him, and I think both guys were just gassed. They were in deep water, and Yuri just pulled off a Hail Mary sub, and it worked 9 times out of 10 against someone with Glover's acumen on the ground. That doesn't happen.
No hooks, never.
But yeah, so like I think like when you look at things from a betting perspective, you've got to feel like Glover basically won that fight, even though he didn't win the fight technically. But I really feel like Jamal Hill is like, I think he's a great striker, but he's not the same level striker as Yuri, and he's certainly not as unorthodox. So for that reason, I feel like it comes down to who's more dominant in one skill or the other, and Glover's way more dominant grappling, and he survived the Polish power. He survived Yuri Prochazka. Like, there's nothing else that he needs to prove for me.
I agree.
So,
I think he just needs to get this to the ground, and that's basically it. Like, just get this to the ground, and you should be able. If our over hits, especially, then I'm beyond confident in Glover, because the power is going to just start to slowly go down from Jamal Hill, and that's when Glover's just going to wear him out on the mats. So I love these first two picks.
Yeah, and then completely opposite from our last pick, we're going Moreno versus Figueiredo under 4.5 at plus money, which you love to see. And
flyweight unders.
They always work. They always work. That's
always.
All that needs to be said is flyweight unders always work. And in this one, these guys know each other so well, so like it stands to reason that they're not gonna they're not trying to figure each other out anymore. This is their fourth fight.
I see no way in hell. I mean, obviously, both these guys are thinking the exact same thing, probably. So that also tends to make a stalemate, which sucks. But there's no way in hell this quadrology, or however you want to call it, does not end in somebody closing it out. Like, somebody has to be the winner. Like, it has to end somehow. So I cannot see this going to another. One, a draw. That'd be crazy. But two, just another controversial decision. This is the fourth fight. Somebody's going to get the better of the other one. They just have to. And moving on to who we think that's going to be, Brandon Moreno. We're putting a little over a unit down for Brandon Moreno to make this. And, I mean, I think in each fight, he has looked the better fighter. Like, sure, Figueiredo's terrifying. He's the Terminator of that division. But I think Brandon Moreno has felt the power 3 times now, hasn't really done much with it, and has shown to be a more skilled fighter, especially when it goes deep.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Brandon Moreno's fought at least one other person outside of Figueiredo in his recent fights. I was at the fight in Dallas where he fought Kai Kara France. Looked great, and I think
he looked amazing.
Yeah, and I think when you fight other guys, it lets you work on other skills, whereas Figueiredo's been basically every round of sparring, every second of training, every time he steps on the mat for like the last 4 years he's been training for Brandon Moreno.
Yeah, just thinking about the same guy.
Yeah, so like there's no there's no way to like freshen up your training and stuff. You're just kind of stuck in a rotation, I feel like, or a cycle, I guess would be a better way to describe it.
And yeah, he's changed camps several times throughout the quadrology as well. And
yeah, and you bring up an interesting point. What the hell happens if this does? Like,
I don't care.
I'm done too. I'm just saying from like the UFC's perspective, like you've got to be praying for a decisive finish, like anything but a draw or controversy on the scorecards or what have you, because I don't want to see these guys fight again.
The UFC is praying for Brandon Moreno to win. I'm sure of it. There's so many fights set up, like right off the bat, Pantoja. He's got the win over Brandon Moreno. Like that fight is set in stone already with a win right here. So like, and I'd be very shocked to not see Pantoja sitting front row for this fight as well. He's clear cut next in line. But yeah, this division has so many guys up and coming, and we've just been stuck on the same two. So yeah, like somebody's got to win decisively. Hopefully it's Moreno. That sets up a lot more storylines in that division. But one thing we can't talk bad about is this division was dead coming into the first fight of this rivalry. Like these guys completely rejuvenated an entire division. Like or resurrected, I should say. Like they resurrected the entire division basically. This division was just about to go away, especially after Cejudo left.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Gotta give kudos to those guys because now it's a super exciting division.
Yeah, I completely agree. Moving on, we got Gilbert Burns by knockout, TKO, or sub at plus 100. It's a cool bet. I think it's interesting because Neil Magny is so hard to put away. But you brought up a good point earlier in that Gilbert Burns basically has no other option but to get a good finish in this fight. And so I think we just ride that energy. And this one is a 1-to-1, like bet 1 to win 1 pick. So not too much damage done if you lose it, but it's a unit if you win. So
yeah, it's a minus 475 favorite that we're picking just to win inside the distance. Yeah, yes, Magny is a tough finish, but Gilbert's fighting back home. He's been talking about how he's a little bit nervous because he has so much family, friends, everybody coming out to support him. When you have that much energy, especially a guy like Gilbert Burns, that explosive power, he's just going to be coming out with so much adrenaline coming for a finish. And I just think Magny's been around a little too long. Like, sure, you can talk about he's got the most wins in the welterweight division, but he's also got the most wins in the welterweight division. That's a tough task to build, like past GSP. So he's got a lot of wear and tear on him, and Gilbert has become so much a fan of his hands. Like there's that clip of DC talking about this man loves the knockout. Dorino loves the knockout. It's like, hell yeah, he does. He's gonna come out and knock this dude out probably.
Well, and how could you not? Like moving up from lightweight to welterweight, and all of a sudden you just start starching dudes. Like,
well, imagine discovering that you have hands as a Mundial champion, as an ADCC finalist, like as a guy who does not have to worry about anybody on the mats, discovering you have hands too. Like that's a terrifying combination.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Let's go ahead and move a little bit further down the card, and these are some picks. I think we've got a couple more on the main card, and then we'll hit the prelims pretty heavy. Like we said at the beginning of this, we like the prelims. So Andrade by knockout or sub. I don't think there's another female fighter that has gone from like someone I didn't really know about to someone that every time they walk, I want to pick them by knockout because I think Andrade is terrifying. Like she's such a like compact package, but she's got so much muscle and like
not just knockout, finish too.
Yeah, or by sub.
Her last fight, like this, I've never seen a standing arm triangle before.
Yeah, it was wild. It was absolutely wild.
So much raw strength, like you were saying. Like that's absurd. Like she's way stronger than a lot of men at her weight class, more than likely.
Yeah, and I feel like in this one she gets a finish for sure because like Lauren Murphy had a good little run there, but she hasn't really done anything since she fought Valentina. Like she's almost one of those people that you feel like hit the wall. Like they got their championship fight and then they kind of got broken in that fight and then they just haven't been able to find it again. and they're just on like different like trajectories, right? So like Andrade up and up, Laura Murphy down and down. You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
think
Like,
this fight is a setup for a pop in Brazil. Like that's, I don't see anything else for this one. Like there's a lot of great fights on this main card. I think this one is just an absolute setup for a finish.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then I think it's only right for you to introduce our next pick. It just makes sense.
Paul Craig by submission. I mean, we've taken this so many times. Like I don't know how many fights in a row I've taken Paul Craig by submission, but one, the Bear Jew. Didn't even mention that part. But two, I mean, looking back, it's just finish. Like it's absurd on his record. And every single one of those fights, he's losing, and somehow throws in a triangle. No idea how the Bear Jew pulls it off every time.
Yeah, well, he won me over. I was in Vegas back in March and picked him by sub and picked his money line in my big parlay. And
Against Krylov,
and he was getting smashed. Like, I was so nervous. Like, the first round, I remember looking at all my friends. I'd won like 4 or 5 fights in a row, and I'm like, all right, had to lose one. You know, it's first round. He's getting throttled. And we're walking back to wherever we were staying. I can't remember. We were walking back from brunch, and I was like, all right, is what it is. And I just kind of have the fight pulled up on my phone, and I'm listening to it, talking to a couple of my friends, and I hear whoever it was on the commentary just start screaming like, oh my gosh, he's got it. And I look at my phone, and it's Paul Craig deep on a sub, and I start going nuts in the middle of the Vegas Strip, which is not an uncommon thing to happen. I probably could have gone absolutely wild and still wouldn't have been the weirdest person on the strip. But, like, it was awesome. So, like, Paul Craig by sub, lock it in every time he fights. Don't care who he's fighting.
I mean, last guy to beat the title challenger in a devastating submission as well, one should say.
Yep.
I guess, although they did give him the TKO for that fight, but that was a devastating triangle armbar.
Yeah, he broke his arm.
Yeah, disgusting. And then just pounded him out from there.
Yeah, and then how could you not love this next guy, Gregory Rodriguez? You know him by RoboCop. If you don't think you've seen Gregory Rodriguez, you have, because the last time he fought, his whole eyebrow situation was completely split open, and he went on to win that fight when I don't think anyone ever thought that he could possibly win it, when you could see his skull through the center of his forehead.
Yeah, I was beyond shocked they even allowed that to finish. But yeah, he came out and starched the guy in the next round. So
yeah, so how can you not respect that and take him by KO, TKO, plus 100, lock it in?
Love it. Minus 300 favorite again, just like Gilbert Burns that we're getting at plus money. So gotta nail that one in. Mm-hmm. And then this next one was one we were not thinking about until we actually looked at the fight. Luan Lacerda is a pretty heavy underdog. Cody Stamen, I think, is like minus 375 or something like that. But you look at this Lacerda guy, he hasn't fought in the UFC yet. He's like, no one has really any idea. And then you look at Cody Stamen, he won his last fight. Before that, 3-fight losing streak. Like, the guy's a big name. Like, everybody's kind of heard of him. I don't really understand why. He doesn't really have that much of that impressive of a record. And this guy coming in has 12 wins, 10 by submission. His last 6 fights were all submissions. It looks like 7 of his last 8 all submit. Like, the guy's a submission king. So at plus 600, yeah, might as well throw a sprinkle on that guy.
Yeah, I think that's a fun one.
Too.
Yeah,
gotta ride the Brazilian.
That's a fun one. That's a fight that you wouldn't otherwise keep your eye on, but when you have plus 600 money out there, you really want to watch.
And a guy especially, 12 wins, 10 submissions. Like, come on now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our next guy, who doesn't love someone that's got a great story? Terrence McKinney, obviously, like, one of the craziest stories in the UFC, like, was addicted to drugs, like, thought he was going to die, like, really bad situation. Turned his life around.
He did die.
Wait, did he?
Yeah. I think
he was like legally dead for like 5
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah. That's true. Good point. So he died, came back to life, and he's just been awesome. I think he won everyone over. Like his first big fight in the UFC was Matt Frivola, and he came out in like 30 seconds. No, it probably wasn't even 30 seconds. It was like 8.
That was like an 8-second finish, and then he jumps off the cage celebrating and hurts his knee.
Well, that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. But yeah, he's a small favorite in this, -125. A lot of value there for a guy that I really think very highly of, and I think it's worth riding him.
And he's just a massive fan favorite because of his style. He has, I think, 1 loss in the UFC, 2 if you want to count one of his losses in the Contender Series. But yeah, 1 loss in the UFC to Drew Dober in one of the most exciting fights I've ever seen. And every single one of his fights, let me see, he's got 13 wins, and I believe 7 of them coming in the first minute and a half of a fight. 7 of his 13. So, I mean, this guy comes out, win or lose, to finish in the first round. So that's another bet to look at. However, the money line or the line on that's just absolutely like astronomical, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, this guy comes out, win or lose, to finish.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. And just when you thought that we were done with the straight bets, there's more. We got 2 more picks to get into before we're done with the straight bets. So we got Worley Alves. Money line -125, kind of similar to Terrence McKinney in that he's a small favorite, a lot of value on the line there. And to be quite honest, I just feel good about him this weekend. There's not like a lot of the picks that we make, I can point to one thing or another, like fighting style, like the matchup, how it works out, this, that, and the other. But this one, it's just like a gut feeling. I kind of just like Worley Alves in this one.
Yeah, and this is another one we're kind of hoping for a finish. Dalby definitely tends to come on stronger as the fight goes on, whereas Worley Alves definitely comes out hot and kind of fades as the fight goes on. So, I mean, we're definitely hoping for a finish here. But, again, Brazil early on the card. This kind of transitions into our next bet, which is the first bet of the card. We're looking for finishes early. So, last bet that we have straight-wise is we're opening up the card. We're looking for a finish. We're looking for a big pop to start off the night. So we're taking Oliveira versus Marcos under 2.5 and basically pick 'em money. I mean, there's really, I will admit, there is no thinking on this bet other than I think that this whole fight card is going to start off with a bang. I just have a feeling they're going to come into Brazil and start off with a massive pop.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because if you didn't, I would have. I don't know a thing about either of these 2 guys.
I don't need to.
But we just want an under. Just give me an under.
We got some bantamweights, some 2 tiny boys fighting it out. Someone's getting slept. That's all I know.
Yep, that's what's going to happen. We're going to speak it into existence. So all in all, on the straight bets, we've got 12.45 units out there. Potential to win 13.925 units. So it could be another good day, and I'm super excited to see what happens. I do think it's important to point out, just since this is our first pod of 2023, we kind of shook things up with the way that we've been doing our picks. So y'all might have noticed that the Hammer of the Week and the Dog of the Week have gone away. We just kind of felt like it handcuffed our ability to put out more picks. So just doing the straight bets, like this card, we've got 12 straight bets. I don't think there's maybe been one other card that we've done 12 picks for. So for me, I like that because, if I'm someone that's like, listening along, watching, wanting to take some of our picks, you can kind of pick and choose as opposed to like, I've only got 7 or 5 or however many to choose from. So moving it away from Hammer of the Week, Dog of the Week, just going to straight bets. And then
realistic lines too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're 10 units down. That was absurd. I don't know where we came up with that. Like that was insane. Having a 4 dog every single week. Like sure, that's nice, but like, I mean, let's just take a bunch of dogs. Like if we feel confident, just put some units down.
Yeah, and that's kind of the other thing. I kind of got to a point where I feel like we were making good picks for Hammer of the Week and Dog of the Week, but it almost felt forced because we were like bound to the constraints of like we need a favorite between -100 and -200, and we need a dog that's like enticing. So like when you kind of put those constraints on a pick, it makes it a lot more difficult to find something really good that we feel confident in. So I'm glad that we did that. It's just, here's all of our straight bets. You take what you want. You can listen to our opinions and go from there. But if there's one thing that we'll never do without, that is a good old-fashioned parlay. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned parlay? So to kick off 2023, or I guess the first pay-per-view of 2023, I should say, because we had a parlay that hit last week, which was pretty
First
sick.
Parlay of the year hits.
Yep. Can we go 2 for 2 on parlays? We're batting 1,000 right now. Hopefully that doesn't drop to 500. But we got the Brazilian favorites parlay. Obviously, first card back in Brazil. Every fight's got someone from Brazil represented. So it only makes sense to go with the Brazilian favorites parlay because this card is just set up to, bring Brazil back into the fold. So we've got Andrade moneyline, who we talked about earlier. Gilbert Burns moneyline, who we talked about earlier. Gregory Rodriguez moneyline, who we talked about earlier. And then we got two folks at the bottom that we haven't mentioned yet.
Absolutely
and I think
terrifying Brazilians.
Both
No
of them.
other way to put it.
Both of them. So Almeida, absolutely horrifying guy. Tons of submissions. Got a few knockouts. He's just a finisher. And he's going up against a guy named Shamil Abdurakhimov, who 2 times I've been in Vegas, one of which you were with me for the Chris Dawkins fight. But he gets slept both times. So he's
I believe he's taking it on short notice as well.
Yes, that is correct. So Shamil Abdurakhimov, he's a walking nap. So Almeida's just going to do away with him.
And I was going to say he might be a walking nap, but Gelton Almeida is also slowly becoming the most terrifying fighter in the UFC. We just moved on from Francis Ngannou. He might take claim this week as the most terrifying fighter in the UFC. If he comes out and starches the way we think he does, I don't know who else you put there.
Yeah, I almost kind of think of him as like on in a way. Like he's built very similar. He's just like got such good striking. He's one of those heavyweights that moves really well on his feet. So he can just
heavyweight.
This fight is at heavyweight. I don't know if I think he's normally a light heavyweight. This fight is at heavyweight.
Yeah, you're right.
But he's like, I guess I should have said a light heavyweight Cyril Gane. This fight is just at heavyweight.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's terrifying. And then the same could be said for Josiane Nunez, who I believe is the second fight on the prelims or the early prelims. And she's terrifying. She's a -500 favorite. So obviously all of these picks are heavy favorites. So that's the reason it's a 5-leg. So it's less risky for, as 5-leg parlays go. But you're getting good money. It pays +161. So as usual, we're doing a unit to win 1.6.
But you can't have so many big upset. Like these would all be pretty big upsets.
They'd be huge. And really, like, just to put it all out on the table, there's only 2, and I have to be careful with the way that I word this. It's not that I'm worried about them, but in my opinion, the 2 most likely to get upset are Gregory Rodriguez and Gilbert Burns. Not for any one reason in particular. I just think they're both the most vulnerable for the parlay. So those are going to be the 2 to keep an eye on. The rest of them, I feel almost
confident.
100% confident, but we couldn't just do 3 legs because they're all such heavy favorites. It would be
we wouldn't get any money.
A 3-leg parlay that pays -250, and who wants that? So
yeah.
But yeah, so parlay of the week, really confident in 12 picks or straight bets that I'm super confident in too. So I think it's going to be a fun card. I'm going to be at a Stars game. I'm not going to get to watch this one, but I'm going to watch it back, on Sunday maybe or something. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. But hell yeah, first pot of the year.
Yeah. So,
second bet week of the year. Hopefully we keep the money rolling.
Yeah, we need to, especially with how fun these cards are going to be for like the first quarter of 2023. Mm-hmm. Like, can you imagine if we're sitting here in March and we're up on the year 3 months in? I mean, it'd be insane.
I'm hoping to be able to pay for International Fight Week this year through our units.
Yeah, that's the goal. That is absolutely the goal.
I don't know. Halfway through a year, it wouldn't be unrealistic to think we could. I think our goal by International Fight Week should be 30 units.
Yeah, I mean, you could pay for like a little less than half of an International Fight Week ticket with that.
It depends. If we're moving on up, my unit size is not going to continue to stay what it's at.
Well, sure. I'm saying for podcast purposes, yes. Personal purposes, that's a different story. But
yeah. So I'm just hoping 30 units. Yeah, 30 units. We'll stick with 30 units by International Fight Week. Hopefully we don't reel this into a By International Fight Week, we're looking at minus like 17.
It turns out we're both just doing a podcast from the same spot on International Fight Week because we didn't make it to Vegas.
I better not be here. Like, we better be filming in Vegas that week. Oh my
Well,
god.
I mean, as long as you don't have a wedding pop up, that would be a shame.
I know, right? I can't believe I'm missing John Jones for that.
I know. That's going to be tough.
What? Family, right?
I know. It's just the worst. I'm still going to have a great time, but it will be weird knowing that I'm in Vegas at definitely up to that point, the biggest fight card of the year and John Jones's return for the light
Oh, by
heavyweight
far the
strap.
biggest fight card of the year up to date. That's
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah, but it'll feel weird because that's going to feel like one that you should be at, you know?
Mm-hmm. We always got July every year.
I'll FaceTime you in the middle of it, and instead of buying the pay-per-view, you can just watch my
That'd be
FaceTime.
that'd be sick.
That's so funny. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm super excited for that. So it'll be fun.
Serious.
Yeah. But cool. Yeah, super, super glad to be back on the podcast in 2023. As always, if there's anything y'all want to see us change or us do differently, let us know. This will go up on YouTube on Friday at the same time as always, Friday at 12 o'clock. So look out for it. And, we'll post some stuff on Instagram, get the pics up, and we'll be with you all night on Fight Night. So let's see what we can do. And let's have us a 2023, eh?
Sir, bring the money back.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So follow us on Instagram at Round6Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all the stuff that YouTube people say. Do it. If they're saying it, you might as well do it on our page too.
Exactly.
So most importantly, follow the Instagram. You'll get all the pics. And can't wait to see you guys next week. Jake, it's been real. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. I'll see ya.